Well, today is March 28th, 2011, and yes, this is the Monday edition of the show. And over the weekend, I was doing a lot of work on my upcoming film, False Patriots. And man, I gotta tell you, it's becoming increasingly difficult to finish this film because I'm working on the section of the film that's going to get into these characters like Alex Jones and all these other people that have had ties back to the Council for National Policy that have appeared on a lot of these Patriot-based radio shows. And man, there is just such a substantial amount of material. I'm having a difficult time trying to figure out what to put in without turning this into a 7 or 8 hour documentary. But man, I'm going to try to hit the key points to all this information. And man, it's just tough. That's all I can say. But the film is coming along really good, and hopefully we'll have it complete over the next couple of months. It all depends upon a number of factors, of course, but progress is definitely being made. I already have roughly about 2 hours and 45 minutes worth of footage complete, ready to go. I still have to tweak some stuff, but it's getting there. So I'm really looking forward to finally finishing this and getting this project out to the people, because I think this information is very important, and I think people need to see it. Towards the end of the show, I'm going to dissect some of the most insane hypocrisy that I've heard on Mr. Jones' show today. So we will be doing that towards the end of the broadcast. And, well, since nobody else wants to do it, nobody else wants to expose the hypocrisy, nobody has the balls to do it, with the exception of maybe a few others, well, we're going to do it here. It's my understanding that there are certain people that don't particularly care for me talking about Alex Jones and these phony patriots and these scam artists and these bozos that are out there. Well, guess what? Since that's the case, we're just going to talk about it more. How do you like that? I find it amusing that there's these people that want to try to dictate the content of my broadcast. And so I'll just say this again in case there's anybody that missed the original message. But if you tell me not to talk about something, that means we're going to talk about it twice as much, 3 times as much, 4 times as much, and 5 times as much. Do you understand? So go ahead. What don't you want me to talk about? Please tell me, because we'll be talking about it quite often. If there are people who say that I shouldn't talk about something. Because that usually means that that subject warrants further review and further analysis. And that's all I'll say about that subject. So stay tuned for the 3rd hour of the show. We'll be getting into the unbelievable amounts of hypocrisy, again, that occurred on the Alex Jones show today. So stay tuned for that. Let me just organize everything here. We'll take that one phone call, then we'll get into all this business pertaining to the Alex Jones hypocrisy. I swear to God, it never ends. None of this stuff ends, does it? It's just, it continues on and on. Never ending. Now, anyway, I want to get this Alex Jones nonsense because, like I was saying before, it never ends with this guy. It never ends. And because people are too afraid to call this guy out, I feel like I'm one of the few people out here that is obligated to call out this BS and expose this guy for what he is and what he's been doing over the past several years especially. I don't think this guy was that insane 5 years ago or 6 years ago, but this guy has completely jumped off the deep end. He is being turned into this mainstream corporate-controlled media figure, yet there's still a large number of people that believe that this guy is somehow providing the gospel. But we've caught this guy in so many lies. We've caught him engaging in widespread hypocrisy. The Charlie Sheen interview was one of the most disgusting pieces of radio I think I've ever heard in my life. And it was funny, even Glenn Beck made fun of him for this. In fact, I want to play this clip because as much as I despise Glenn Beck, he actually made some good points by making fun of Alex Jones in this particular clip that I'm about to play. Because that interview that Alex Jones did with Charlie Sheen, it was borderline homosexual. And like I said before my show, if Charlie Sheen was in studio with Alex Jones when he was doing that interview, I would not be surprised if Mr. Jones would have attempted to perform fellatio upon Mr. Sheen. It was that bad. It was that ridiculous. Him talking about how, well, I saw Charlie's hernia. I saw his hernia. And, oh, gee, well, you know, I was at the pool and I saw you working out and, oh, man, you look pretty good. I mean, literally, it was that gay. It was that homosexual. I'm not saying there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but it's just ridiculous. It was just silly. And things like these really discredit any information that this guy associates himself with. And there is a lot of truthful information that he does talk about with the Federal Reserve, with the New World Order, and that's part of the trick. He talks about enough credible information that he mixes in with all this fear-mongering and all this stuff that is designed specifically for the corporate media to be able to discredit him very easily. And then we get lumped in with this crazy guy that is engaging in all this weird behavior. That's part of the operation that's being pulled here. And they're pushing this guy further and further into the mainstream. If he was being pushed into the mainstream, Glenn Beck would never have played a clip like this on his show. He would have never done a bit like this. But because they're engaging in these operations, that's why these things are happening. And so you see this divide that's taking place in the Tea Party between people who associate themselves with Glenn Beck and people who associate themselves with Alex Jones, when in fact both of these people are working together. The Deborah Medina campaign, a year or something back, and I wrote an article on this, showcased how Beck and Jones were attacking that woman from both sides of the same issue on 9/11 Truth. Beck criticized Medina because she was associating herself with 9/11 Truth, and then Jones attacked her for not being close enough to 9/11 Truth. So they're working together to discredit this one individual who is starting to pick up some steam in the Republican nomination for governor. And well, they couldn't have somebody like that in a position of power, so they brought out all these psychological warfare ops, and both of them conveniently worked together on both sides of the same issue to tank her campaign. So really a lot of stuff that you're seeing between Jones and Beck, it's stage theater. But I just want to play this clip because it really is funny, and it kind of ties into the clips I'm about to play, in which Jones is complaining about what Beck did to him. But again, all this is part of the stage theater because both Jones and Beck are working for the same people. You understand that? They're both New World Order. So I'm going to blow up this clip, and this stuff is just, it's nuts. It's nuts, but I will tell you this much. Beck had every right to make fun of Jones about this because, man, I mean, again, that interview he did with Charlie Sheen, borderline homosexual activity, ladies and gentlemen, and that is no exaggeration. So here we go. Let's play this clip.
And there are times that you think, you know what, I'd just rather be Charlie Sheen. I'd rather just be a guy who is just like, boom, winning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Life is a little bit easier then. When
it is.
You know, you're stark raving nuts. And you don't care what anybody thinks about you or what's going on around you.
To say that he's nuts.
Stark
What
raving
makes you
nuts.
think he's nuts? Why do you think he's nuts?
Boom.
The guy had a hernia operation and he was...
Well, there seems to be a bone of contention with that.
What do you mean?
When you remember the original interview? And the guy was talking about how he hung out with him in the interview?
Yeah, sure.
And there was a couple different places where he...
I am speechless. Later we're going to get into Apocalypse Now, but what comes to mind is when we were there a few weeks ago watching it in your home theater.
In your home theater at your
I
house.
was there 2 weeks ago at your house.
Remember?
Great.
I was
totally
there.
clean. You were working out super hard. I went and worked out with you at that private
Stop.
gym.
I'm just... Remember, I was working out with you
and you were sweating like a pig.
I didn't know that Ed Schultz and Charlie Sheen had this kind of relationship. But it's nice to...
Well, they're hanging out in their home theater, Glenn. And they
really
were...
buff. You were in your underpants.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I was wearing nothing but a hat.
Remember? You took that shower, and then I went in there, and I followed you in there, and you didn't know I was in there. Right. And then I was looking at you around the corner.
Right.
And then you kind of turned around, so I looked the other way, and I waited for you.
It was kind of an awkward moment, but we both enjoyed it anyway.
And we just looked at each other for like 30 seconds, eye to eye, really close.
Right. As men, Charlie, remember, but I was at your house watching you work out because I know you, and I was there at your house.
We'd watched a similar scene on the movie theater, your home theater.
Remember that?
And then there was that time that you were washing your face, and then the soap was dripping down so lusciously down your abs, and I just came over and I just helped you out. I just helped you clean down in that area just to see what would happen, and you were okay with it. And remember that? Remember when I was over there?
Remember I said, and then there was this again in slow motion. Remember this again in slow motion.
And we filmed it and it went out on the internet. Remember that?
I mean, they put you through an incredible workout. You're there exercising in the pool.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Remember that? You're in your Speedo.
And you're exercising, and I'm just there awkwardly hanging out at your gym while they're putting you through all these things to make sure you're really buff, and they're checking how buff you are, and I'm just standing there weirdly.
And I said, "Hey, Charlie, mind if I feel your muscles?" Remember that? Because I was at your pool with you and your
I was your trainer and your movie theater.
Remember when you were on the elliptical, and then you got off and you had the sweat stains on it, and I made sure I cleaned them up with my tongue. Remember my tongue was on your elliptical.
Remember that? You went and took a shower at the gym, and I took your gym shorts and I just sniffed them. You walked in and I was just smelling. I just said,
not in a weird way though.
I was just trying to make sure that these weren't the clean ones.
Yeah.
That I could fold and put away. And
remember?
Right there by your gym.
There's more.
Look, I'm ready to go to work. I'm ready to go right now. And then they add the lie that, you don't have a hernia. Well, you know what? I've seen your hernia.
Remember that? I've seen your hernia. Remember? And you let me touch your hernia?
Right. Remember I said, if I'm really good, Charlie, if I'm really, really good, can I touch your hernia? Or if I'm really, really bad, whatever you prefer.
I'll touch your hernia.
Yeah, remember that? And then you had those canker sores, and I was just touching the canker sore with my tongue just to see if it was okay.
I wanted to test out the acidic content of your canker sore.
And I had like a pH balance thing on the end of my tongue.
And people say you don't have hemorrhoids. I've seen your hemorrhoids.
I've seen them.
Is that the weirdest comment in the history of broadcast?
Well, you know what? I've seen your hernia.
That is the weirdest broadcast comment. Tell me the weirder comment than that is. All right?
Well, you know what? I've seen your hernia.
Say that, and he's bragging about it as if it's something he should be telling other people.
Remember, that's because I was in his house, in his gym, checking his hernia. That's how close we are. Not a lot of men check other men's hernias, but I have.
I could tell you the weirder broadcast moment.
Yeah.
It's at the beginning of the interview. Listen how he builds up getting there.
Yeah.
I think that's more uncomfortable.
Do you really? Then I've seen your hernia.
Listen to it again. It makes sense that he's seen his hernia after you hear the beginning.
When I was there 2 weeks ago at your house, you looked great, totally clean. You were working out super hard. I went and worked out with you at that private
rock hard
place.
Remember when your rock hard abs were flexing and I was running my fingers off them? Remember that?
You are so hot and so clean.
People say you don't have bunions. I've seen your bunions.
Let me tell you how clean he is. He is clean. He's clean.
His hernia is clean.
Well, you know what? I've seen your hernia.
I know it's clean. Nobody can tell me you don't have a clean hernia. I help clean your hernia.
Let me clean you like a cat cleans you. Yeah, like a cat cleans himself. I'm going to clean you, Charlie. So it's going to have your that clean.
But in a manly way. There's nothing weird about it.
A man-cat sort of way.
All right, so that's the clip from the Glenn Beck Show in which he is making fun of Alex Jones and his borderline homosexual tinted interview with Charlie Sheen. I mean, literally, there's nothing out of context there, folks. And I played that entire interview on this broadcast. And literally, if you listen to that entire thing, it almost appears as if Jones has some sort of homosexual crush on Charlie Sheen. I mean, he's kissing his ass. He's doing all this stuff. And that bizarre comment about seeing his hernia, well, I mean, come on. I mean, if you say something like that, you deserve to get made fun of. And, well, Jones got pretty butthurt about all this, and we'll play some of the clips that he, when he was referring to this clip that I just played. But that's just part of it. This is just part of what I want to cover, because really what we're seeing here with this clip, again, I just want to reiterate, is that we're seeing how, one, Jones is being brought into the mainstream further and further. You would not see Beck play something like this or do something like this on his show unless there is an attempt to bring this guy further and further into the mainstream. And it's all being done by design. I mean, he has this Rolling Stone magazine spread. There's another article, I think, in this New York magazine, some hit piece they did on him, supposedly. I don't know. I haven't had the chance to really get into it. But this guy is being launched full force into the mainstream. There's no question about this. And what really gets me is that people still think that this guy has not sold out, that he's on our team, that he's part of the underground media, when all that is easily proven to be false. This guy had Larry Pratt on his show, again, and our Council for National Policy member, a member of the Council for Inter-American Security that was involved with Latin American death squads in the 1980s. He was the group's secretary, not some member. He was a high-level member, the secretary of the friggin' group, for God's sakes. And he keeps bringing on these Council for National Policy and John Birch Society types on his show all the time. It's incredible. And still, nobody wants to admit this. And not only that, but again today, he claimed they had high-level sources at Fox News. Again, would somebody who is in the alternative media that is not linked to the New World Order in any way have high-level sources at Fox News? Let me play this clip in which he's talking about Roger Ailes. Okay, and he somehow has this insider information about Ailes, about his bodyguards, that he got from these sources that he has. Well, for somebody who hasn't sold out, wow, he's got a lot of sources. And we play clips of him previously saying that he has high-level sources at Fox News. So here's another clip in which he's talking about and bragging about his sources at Fox. Here it is.
Now, in these fights, in the left-right paradigm, they do hate each other. And there's no doubt Roger Ailes fears the Democrats and George Soros and has bodyguards. I've confirmed that from inside Fox News, from two different sources, and from a former governor who's friends with... All right, I'm not even supposed to say it. I'm going to leave it right there. The point is, Roger Ailes, the head of Fox, has bodyguards, folks. He's scared to death. He's had them for more than a decade because of threats and recrimination. Can you imagine?
Yeah, now how does he know this information? Where are these high-level sources coming from? Does anybody bother to ask these questions? It is absolutely incredible. Now, I can assure you, I've been doing this for like 3 or 4 years. I do not have any high-level sources at Fox News, nor would I want any. I wouldn't want to be associated with those Vatican pimping clowns. I mean, basically, Fox News is the Vatican News Network, for God's sakes. Or the Jesuit News Network. Take your pick. Let's see. Sean Hannity, Catholic. Bill O'Reilly, Catholic. Rupert Murdoch. He was awarded papal knighthood back in the 1990s. You're essentially looking at the Vatican News Network, and that's why a lot of their material in the United States is oriented towards Christians and the far right. It's incredible. So that might explain at least a little bit as to why somebody like Jones has sources at Fox News, but also shows that he's not being honest with his audience. And you look at Glenn Beck. Well, he's a Mormon. Ties right back into the whole priest class system. All these people do. Jones, Beck, they're really no different. It's just Jones talks about more conspiratorial issues than Beck. Beck tries to keep it more mainstream. And you see how the establishment has lumped both Jones and Beck into the same category. And then you got both of them with their factions dividing the entire Tea Party movement. You see how it works? Now, I'm going to play this other clip. This is about 14 minutes long, but I'm going to stop it as I go along. And what I find very interesting about this clip is that Jones always criticizes people for infighting. He gets really upset if you say something bad about him. Oh, well, if you say something bad about Alex Jones, you're infighting, according to him. Well, let's say that I'm a mainline Tea Partier, okay? And I hear Alex Jones talking badly about Glenn Beck like he does in this clip. Well, can I criticize Alex Jones for infighting within the Tea Party? For criticizing Glenn Beck? Because Glenn Beck, well, if I'm a Tea Partier, I might think that Glenn Beck is a great American doing all this great stuff. So he's allowed to criticize a talk show host that is kind of in the same genre as he is. That's okay, but if we criticize Alex Jones, all of a sudden that's not allowed. Now, why is there a double standard here? I get all of these ass clowns and all these people that bring up this issue of infighting when there is no group, there is no organization that one can point to say that there's infighting going on. I do not associate myself with these characters or this patriot battle movement, but yeah, I still get people who try to say that I'm infighting because I criticize the great Alex Jones, when this guy deserves to be criticized 7 ways to Sunday based upon all the information that we've compiled over the years. And the type of stuff that he's done on his own that have completely discredited him and everybody associated with this type of information that we're trying to put out. So he associates himself with a lot of truthful information, essentially so the establishment can discredit it because, well, they're associating him with anybody who believes in this information. You see how it works? But again, the whole thing with infighting, it's a false dichotomy that's been created by Jones to make you believe that if anybody criticizes him, that they're somehow COINTELPRO or they're somehow evil. And that is, that's a completely false context to be looking at this, especially when he criticizes Glenn Beck. So he's doing the same thing, essentially, in a larger context that he criticizes people who criticize him in doing. And I don't care if he criticizes Glenn Beck, but I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy here. He gets all butthurt because Glenn Beck plays this clip of him in which it's his own fault. He should not have spoken in the manner that he did on his radio program, talking about seeing Charlie Sheen's hernia. I mean, my God, what do you expect? If you go on air and you say that you saw an armed man's hernia, you're going to get made fun of because that is a borderline homosexual content. That's just common sense here, folks. Now let's play this clip. This is about 14 minutes long. I'm going to stop this as we go along, but we're going to illustrate all the hypocrisy that is in this 14 minutes of audio. And believe me, it gets pretty insane. So here we go.
Now, that said, I'm not going to address Glenn Beck in detail because I have too much serious news to cover.
That's a lie. He is going to address Glenn Beck a great deal. In fact, over the next 14 minutes, a lot of it is about Glenn Beck and our issues. Let's continue.
But understanding the different facets of this information war going on will help people navigate the propaganda and the disinformation. But Glenn Beck did a good thing Friday having G. Edward Griffin on. We try to commend him when he does the right thing. But he did the wrong thing, playing out of context my interview with Charlie Sheen, where I was going there to help him stay clean and off drugs, sober, because he was cooped up in his house with, sobriety coaches and a nurse. He said, come out here and, hang out with me. We'll talk about politics for the weekend. And when I got Charlie on, because I was there basically coaching him when I was there, I'm like, good job. You're not using drugs. You're not drinking. Great job, Charlie. You're clean. And Beck took it and just said, what is he talking about? Charlie, you look great. You're clean. What, are they in the shower together? Having sex? It was bizarre.
Yeah, I bet Jones wished he was having sex with Charlie Sheen based upon what I heard in that interview. Let's continue.
And he went on and on and on out of context. I was going over media lies. They were saying Charlie doesn't have a hernia. Well, I've known Charlie for 6 years, swam in a swimming pool many times, with him and friends, and he's got a hiatal hernia like I do, up on the top of his stomach is rib cage, and I explained on air I've got the same hiatal hernia. Beck took that out of context and had me saying, I've seen your hernia. Then they went into, I'd been in the shower, I saw his hernia, I licked his hemorrhoids, I can't even say all this on air. It was so pornographic, that I licked sores, I sucked sores.
Well, come on, Alex, it's funny. You just can't take a joke, that's the problem. And again, he set himself up for this. So he's got nobody to blame but himself for what Glenn Beck did. But again, a lot of this is staged. Beck would not have done what he did if these clowns weren't working together in some capacity.
Again, that's the curtain. That's the deception. They could take little bitty clips of me going, great job, man. You're off drugs. You're clean. You're sober. You're working out. You look great.
If you listen to the entire interview, you'll see that nothing was taken out of context. It's a legitimately disturbing interview. And if you look back at my archives, you can find it. I'm sure you also got it up on YouTube somewhere. So, just listen to it for yourself. You'll see that is a legitimately disturbing interview.
Charlie been clean for off and on close to a decade, went on a 7-month party, went from being what he publicly said, a Christian. I've been at his house where he talks about God, this great focused guy, to 7-month party, coming off the drugs, bouncing off the walls, manic. And I'm on air going, good job, man. You're clean. You're gaining weight. You're off the drugs. And they turn that into something, and it's just like, what? But I understand worldliness. I understand being petty and having kind of a 7th grade mentality. But that's what it sounded like. So here's Beck doing a great thing, having G. Edward Griffin on, being attacked by the globalists and George Soros because he's exposing the new global currency, their plan to kill the dollar, the real death of America. And I want to be able to commend Beck like I commend Judge Andrew Napolitano, who was the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. A mainline Ron Paul type guy. Great guy. I love to support Lou Dobbs. Don't even agree with everything he says, but I know he's real.
Lou Dobbs is not real. That guy's another phony establishment media figurehead. And this guy has said on his show that Lou Dobbs is one of his heroes. Dobbs is a phony populist. There is no question about that. So I remember hearing Jones do an interview with Dobbs, and it was another kiss-ass fest. Not as bad as the Sheen kiss-ass fest, but it was pretty bad. Nothing objective about the interview whatsoever. Let's continue.
I would love, Glenn Beck, to try to support you, but, look what you do to me. We've confirmed that big sponsors that are our sponsors, their outfit goes and tries to get them and say, we'll give you a better deal if you don't be with Alex, sponsor Alex Jones.
Let me stop it right there. Jones is now getting into Beck sabotaging his sponsors. And I will tell you for a fact that Alex Jones and his associates have done the exact same thing to other people who have been involved in the Truth and Patriot movement, as well as our radio networks. And this guy has the balls or the nerve to actually say something like that, to criticize Glenn Beck for a lot of the same things that he himself has been involved in. This guy is a friggin' psychopath. He's nuts. He's talking completely out his ass. And there are people who can verify this. He has absolutely interfered with other people trying to get advertisers that happened to advertise with him. He said nasty things about other networks and our hosts and our people so that those advertisers would not do business with those our people. Now he's criticizing Beck for doing to him. What a goddamn pussy. I think we should call Alex Jones little bitch. I think that accurately describes what this man is really all about. He's a little bitch. Let's continue.
That's torturous interference. That's the kind of stuff that Media Matters does to you. Guest after guest says, yeah, Glenn Beck, heard about me on your show, and when they had me on, they got me in the back room and said, don't go on Alex Jones's show. And I can name right now Fox News hosts that have been told, don't come on here. I was scheduled on Fox News when I was in New York. Guess who killed it? But I was supposed to just like that. Oh, thank you, Glenn, for going after my sponsors and trying to take them away. Thank you. That's real nice.
Yeah, just like you've done to our patriots and our truthers and our people who've done radio spots and radio networks and things like that. Oh, how about We the People Radio Network? Why don't you talk about how you helped sabotage that? And he's getting on air crying like a bitch that Glenn Beck is doing all these bad things to him. That's right, Jones. You are a little bitch. Maybe that's why I should just call him from now on. Little bitch. Little bitch boy.
Oh, what George Soros does to you. Oh, thank you, Glenn. Telling my guests after guests not to come on my show, or you won't have them on yours. Thanks a lot, man. That's really nice. Thanks for taking out of context me saying, great job, you look great, Charlie, you're clean, and imply it was some type of gay thing. Thanks a lot, man.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that interview, that was pretty friggin' gay. That's a fact. He's whining about that. It's his own fault.
All I want is freedom for my children. You are the one attacking me covertly for years, and I'm sick of it. Okay, I understand that we're the real deal because we're not run by Fox. I understand we're able to cover real issues, and you're not. I understand that, and I commend you when you go in the right direction. But Media Matters and George Soros brag that they've targeted and helped destroy 400-plus sponsors of Glenn Beck. And I've said that's wrong. Going after the free press in this country, it's wrong to do that to the Democrats. But it's not nice to do it to me.
Let me stop it again. So, okay, George Soros engages in that type of activity. Glenn Beck engages in that activity as well. And Alex Jones engages in that same type of activity. Well, maybe since all of them are engaging the same type of New World Order tactics, maybe that's because all these people are working for the same people. Maybe that's because they're all working for the same goal. And that's why they're engaging the same tactics against our people. But if you listen to Jones, you would have never known that he sabotaged We the People Radio Network and has been involved in trying to sabotage other network sponsors, just like he's complaining about here. This is just makes me absolutely friggin' sick. And what's amazing is that people are going to continue to buy this. Now, I got about 10 minutes left in this clip. I'm going to try to get through this, but this is going to be hard because there's so much BS contained within this clip. I don't know if we'll be able to get through it all, but we're going to try. Well, let's continue.
And you're a hypocrite. And I even tried to do an olive branch like 6 months ago because it's all over scientific reports that macular degeneration of the eye is linked to excitotoxins. We've had brain surgeons, eye surgeons on to talk about it, Dr. Blaylock and others. There's mainline studies for decades that it breaks down into wood alcohol. Everybody knows wood alcohol makes you go blind. You can do it overnight if you get enough of it, but over time, aspartame, also MSG, attacks the optic nerve. And we wrote an article saying, Glenn, you say you're going blind, and you'll be probably completely blind in a decade. Don't drink Diet Coke. He went on and attacked me for that. Very worldly. And let me tell you, Glenn, you're the guy who gets up at the Lincoln Memorial, talks about God, talks about Christianity, and do it as a good actor. and try to bring people together, which is a good thing, and then you get on air in an 8-minute pornographic rant that is so horrible I can't even air it here about. Well, I already said one of the things. Just the most filthy sucking of sores, just things I can't even say on air. You know, amazing stuff. Absolutely. Even though I'm a public figure, you could probably be brought to heel for that in court, but I don't.
I stop it right there. Now he's talking about legal action. How many times has this guy gotten up on air and said he was going to sue somebody? This guy has said that he was going to sue how many hosts? Too many to count. Somebody posted a link about his wife being Jewish and, I'm going to sue him. The guy's sue happy, and he never follows through with any of his threats. It's all hot air. But I tell you what, anybody who actively seeks to use the system against our truth seekers and our people who are against what's going on with this insane world order system automatically should be highly suspect. You can have disagreements, but to threaten to use the system against somebody, I mean, that is lower than low. And this guy does it all the time. And I know he's about to say it. He was about to say that, I could threaten legal action against you. Yeah. But he stopped short of doing that. But there's countless clips of him on YouTube and anywhere else you can find them of him threatening to sue other radio hosts in the same genre. And he's always seemed to target the most popular host besides himself. Why do you think that is? Because they're cutting into his revenues, his competition.
You discredit it. I don't have time for that stuff. I don't care what happens to me or what people think about me. But, I mean, it's just so vicious. But I read a news report, and who knows if it's true, the media lies so much, that Glenn Beck once had another host that worked at the same station as him decades ago, and the guy went to another station and was married, and they were competitors then, and she had a miscarriage. And reportedly he's admitted to this. I haven't seen that, so I can't vouch for it. But then he called up and said, "I'm glad your wife had a miscarriage." I mean, that makes me feel bad for you, Glenn. And I wasn't even sure those reports were real when I saw them months ago, but seeing what you did Friday, I mean, it's incredible that you would sit there and engage in that type of editing of the tape to try to imply things like that is just outrageous.
Let me stop it there again. Glenn Beck was taking nothing out of context. Again, the interview is borderline homosexual. That's a fact. We played the entire friggin' thing here on this show, and it was gay. Beyond gay. I'm talking about queer than queer, folks. A borderline cocksucking fest. Do you understand? That's how gay it was. And this guy's pretending like it wasn't. This guy just makes up stuff out of thin air.
It's outrageous. And I won't do things to people that I wouldn't want done to me. And I find it very bad.
Let's stop that right there. Wait, did you just hear him say that? He said that he would not do things to our people that he would not done, or that he would not want done to him. Really? Well, let's go back to the network sabotage, the advertising sabotage. Let's get into all of that. We could spend a whole show just on that alone. And this guy gets up there acting like he's some sort of angel. You could go back to 2000, and there are supporters of the Gray family they're this family that hold themselves up on this area of land because this guy, John Joe Gray, he had a warrant for his arrest for some BS violation, firearms violation. So he basically armed himself and said that he wasn't going to appear in court. And the story of it is that Jones did an interview with him, and Mr. Gray agreed to do the interview so long as he didn't air the footage or use the footage for anything else except in a documentary that was going to be put together after the whole siege was over. But instead, and this comes from people who had ties to the Gray family, he sold that footage to 2020, ABC News 2020, for a sum of money. Now, I can't independently verify a lot of that, but that's what people have said. But judging from everything else that this guy has been involved in, it shouldn't be too far of a stretch to believe that that might be true. This guy's just been involved in all sorts of shady business from the start. Over and over and over again. Stabbing people in the back. Screwing people over. We have countless stories of this. And this guy is trying to say, well, I would never do something to people that I wouldn't want done to me. Yeah, BS. You do it all the time. You're a friggin' scumbag. Scumbag little bitch. Let's continue.
And karma, you could say. You reap what you sow. Very bad luck. In Texas, we boil it down to that. To do to me, behind the scenes, what George Soros has been doing to you and Roger Ailes. Now, see, I'm already getting into this. It's just... I've got clip after clip of Fox News and Glenn Beck saying, arrest 9/11 truthers, they're dangerous, they're terrorists, taser them. We played those clips. I've got the Cass Sunstein report saying arrest 9/11 truthers and people that don't believe in global warming. Well, whether you don't agree with somebody that doesn't believe in anthropogenic global warming or whether you do agree with them, you shouldn't call for their arrest. Whether you agree or disagree with 9/11 truthers that question the official story of 9/11, a wide spectrum of people, you shouldn't call for their arrest. You shouldn't, 3 years ago, during the key primaries, come out and say Ron Paul's dangerous and we may need to use the Army against his listeners, against his supporters. I mean, Glenn supports torture. He supports secret arrest. He supports the Patriot Act. He supports these wars. Until now, he's starting to get it and go, wait, Al-Qaeda's in Libya. Why are we helping Al-Qaeda? Because I saw his headline last Friday, Al-Qaeda, U.S. inadvertently helping Al-Qaeda in Libya. Did they inadvertently help them against the Serbs? Did they inadvertently help them against the Russians? Was it an accident? When Anwar al-Awlaki, Fox News reported, hangs out secretly at the Pentagon getting orders, last October reported. Listen, Glenn, what you don't get is if we don't beat this New World Order, there is no future. Oh, they're going to come after you, pal. They're already coming after me. You finally started reporting that they're trying to say you're going to cause an Oklahoma City. In those Media Matters reports, they say you and I are. You figured that out yet, buddy?
All right, well, they're not going to go after him or Beck because they're both working for the New World Order. It's that simple. We have overwhelming evidence. I mean, that's why you got G. Edward Griffin now appearing on Glenn Beck's show. You understand, all these people are working for the same system. It's all about controlled opposition and giving people the false perception of reality, and that's what Jones is primarily involved in doing. You want to take a look at the New World Order, you take a look at Alex Jones. He is New World Order, and we have the proof, we have the evidence, and it is 100% verifiable. This guy has engaged in New World Order tactics over and over and over again. He's got people who have ties to the secretive Council for National Policy group on his show all the time. Larry Pratt was on his show today. Council for National Policy. This is a guy that said that Dick Cheney wasn't a bad guy. And he gives this guy a platform over and over and over again. This guy is a bought and paid for, wholly owned subsidiary of the New World Order. Let's continue with the clip.
And the big developments in Libya and Obama's speech. They may be getting the public ready for the ground invasion that will be called the humanitarian mission. And the bombing is not called a war. They now just are flooding the airwaves with Orwellian false reality to just set the precedent where people are prepared as they titrate the dose for just more and more brazen, extreme, bizarre lies. But, trying to go through this New York magazine disinformation piece, A Strange Man is Following You, about myself, there's just all sorts of little deceptions in here.
Let me stop it right there. These so-called disinformation pieces are actually promotion for him. Do you understand? There's a reason why he's getting so much mainstream media coverage. And I don't even really know that a lot of these pieces are really hit pieces per se, because that Rolling Stone magazine article, I read that, and a lot of the reporting was actually pretty fair. But he just claims that everything is a hit piece, because he has to put on this illusion that he's fighting against the mainstream media, when he's really just a part of the mainstream media. This guy appeared on the friggin' View, for God's sakes, and if you think that he's somehow still alternative media, if he ever was, you're friggin' crazy. This guy is mainstream corporate media, and if you don't believe that he is at this point, then there's no helping you. Let's continue.
Like, he kept asking me, you want to be on Fox News, don't you? You want to be on Fox News. And I said, no, Fox News will never have me on as a host, because I would have to have 100% control, and that will never happen because they're the other wing of the New World Order co-opting system. And so then they go to Ted Anderson, and so they can get a quote. And Ted says, yeah, I think Alex would, somebody like them might approach him to be on, but he'd only go on if he had 100% control. And then they go on to say, but Alex isn't burning his bridges. He came out and said Roger Ailes is a good guy and anti-New World Order. That's not what I said. I said Roger Ailes is afraid of the Clintons and George Soros.
Let me stop this right here. You see, he's playing damage control because he doesn't want people to think that there's a possibility that he might actually end up on Fox News at some point in time. The fact of the matter is that he has admitted in the past that he has had high-level sources at Fox News. In fact, we just played a clip of him saying that he had insider information about Roger Ailes' friggin' bodyguards. He said that on this very show. And now he's trying to play damage control. Oh, no, I'd never go on Fox News. Now, wait till you hear what comes next. It gets even more bizarre.
And has Navy SEAL bodyguards. Glenn Beck has retired FBI agent bodyguards. You can actually ferret around and find that in mainstream news if you want to check that. And I said, so there's a real fight between these groups, but they're only fighting over the levers of control. So there's that classic old line media push to worship big media, so-called glamorous, fancy teleprompter, perfect lighting, big guest media.
Yeah, you mean kind of how you've set up your InfoWars command bunker to be just like Rush Limbaugh's setup. I mean, it looks like an exact duplicate. It's completely modeled after Limbaugh's setup, where he's got the video camera up there showing him doing his show. Let's continue.
Which Glenn Beck only has 2 million viewers. I mean, this radio show now has upwards of 3 million a day. It's a paper tiger. It's imaginary. And so much of the article is about how I want to be the big time. We have big time information. But it isn't about being big time.
What is it about? I mean, you think that Charlie Sheen interview was about putting out information? That Charlie Sheen interview was about getting people to listen. That was about hyping up the show. That was about PR. That wasn't about getting out any legitimate information. Or how about having Heidi Montag and that douchebag boyfriend of hers on? What was that all about? Oh yeah, that's getting out the information. Let's have those two knuckleheads on. D-list reality TV stars. Yeah, that's really fighting the New World Order. That's embracing the New World Order. Because Charlie Sheen and Heidi Montag and all those other sluts that you see on reality TV, they are the New World Order. Do you understand that? But he brings them on. He thinks it's great.
It's about changing the course of the world. It's about affecting real change. It's about liberty. That's what I'm into. That's what makes me tick. That's why I have passion. Is because I don't like bullies and tyrants, and I don't want to lose my property rights or my family rights or my Second Amendment rights. It's about a fight that I'm dedicated to. And I'm proud that I've done it my way and built my own radio system. And over 16 years, built slowly to this point that's now exploding. I'm proud. of the fact that I lost 70% or more of my stations when they told me don't talk about 9/11 truth in 2001. And they had it in the article like it was a failure. And didn't ever even explain that we've gotten bigger. I mean, I'm proud. I don't hardly know anybody who won't sell out when money's on the table. I didn't. Over and over again. I was approached many times and offered the big syndication radio deals and the book deals and the TV deals that would come with it. Do you understand, ladies and gentlemen? I'm sure they approached dozens of people, but they developed these minor leagues of people to go to the big leagues. I was approached by the big companies 12 years ago, 10 years ago, 9 years ago, and they've known since, don't approach me because I won't sell out.
That is a complete and total lie right there, ladies and gentlemen. He just said that he was approached several times to quote-unquote sell out. And when you take a look at this man's operation, you take a look at the fact that it is supported 100% by the corporate media, by all these articles, by his appearance on The View, by all these mainstream appearances. This guy sold out a long time ago. And his gatekeeping on information pertaining to the Council for National Policy, the John Birch Society, anything related to these Christian-based organizations, Catholicism, the overall priest class, is obvious. This guy has sabotaged the work of others. He has backstabbed people. This guy, again, he is an agent not only of the New World Order, but evil itself. This guy gets up here and he lies to his audience, and he makes these claims that he would never sell out, that he's above all that. Oh, really? Well, you don't get interviews with Charlie Sheen and all these Hollywood stars unless you've sold out a long time ago. That's how the system works. I had a friend of mine who had a record deal with Sony. And in order to get your stuff officially published and pushed by the label, you had to sell out. You had to sell out in some way, shape, or form, or otherwise the lawyers and the suits would make sure that your stuff never got out there to the masses. That's the way it works. That's the way Hollywood works. That's the way this entire corporate media system works. You don't get promoted or pushed the way that Jones is getting unless you've sold out. And just take a look at the money that it takes to finance this operation. You're talking about a multi-million-dollar operation. And I'll tell you this, there is no money in this type of information. There's no money in the truth. Not the type of money that Jones gets. He gets it because the corporate media is behind him, because the world order is behind him, and that's just a fact. And for him to get up there and say that he didn't sell out after being offered the money, 4 or 5 times, according to what he just said there? And everything else we know about this character? This guy is a rat. Let's play the last 30 or so seconds that we have of this, and then we'll conclude the broadcast.
And they wouldn't put that message across. And you've got the Rolling Stone writer, admittedly an operative now of Media Matters. With that piece, what Joe Hagan at the New York Daily News, or New York Magazine, called a stink bomb. If that's a stink bomb, what is your article, pal? It's a piece of cliched sophistry.
All right, that's enough of that. I hope you understand the hypocrisy that we just witnessed here, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you understand that this man is New World Order. There is no question about this in my mind, and I think if you look at all the facts involved, this man is certainly not on the team of truth or freedom. And this really makes me mad. It makes me really upset that we see this type of hypocrisy and we see how willing people are to sell their souls just for money and material things. And he gets up there and he lies, makes up all this garbage, pretending like he's above everything when it's obvious that he sold out a long time ago. High-level sources at Fox News, okay. You don't get those without selling out, folks. And it's time that people stop following this Judas goat. And I'm going to do my best to continue to expose what I'm sure is going to be an endless amount of BS and garbage coming from this man over the next several years. Because it seems like that myself and a few others, like Josh Reeves, and I don't know who else is out there, there's a few other people, but there are not enough people that are calling this guy out for the scumbag piece of garbage that he is. We have to discredit this guy so much to the point where they're forced to put him fully 100% in mainstream media operations where everybody can see that he sold out. Now, I see it, a lot of other people see it, but not enough people see it. And that's why I'm making this film, The False Patriots, which, man, it's going to be tough just fitting all this friggin' material in that we have on this guy. But I'm going to do my best to do just that. Because it's really important. The Council for National Policy information is important. The John Birch Society information is important. This controlled opposition information is vitally important. And we have to get out to as many people as possible, and that's my plan. So that's all I got for the show. We're about out of time. But thank you for tuning in tonight, and we will be back again tomorrow with who knows what. We'll see what happens over the next 24 hours, but I'm sure there's going to be more craziness to talk about. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.